This is the Weekly Scramble, a place where we chat about life over a cold one or two. It's time to belly up to the pod with Mike Fratelloni and your host, Chris Reavers.
That's right. It's time for the Weekly Scramble podcast. My name is Chris Reavers. With me, as always, his name is Mike Fratelloni. Hello, Michael.
How you doing, Reavers?
I'm doing well, and I'm so happy for the guest that you scheduled because I can't wait to talk about the 3M Open that's coming up next weekend. And Mike Welch is joining us via... Mike, I got to tell you, too, you're our very first ever Zoom guest on the Weekly Scramble podcast. Normally, when we have people on, it's via the phone. So this is a high badge of honor for you, I've got to say, right off the get-go. But thanks for joining us, man.
Well, yeah, I apologize to the viewers. It's not pretty, but I'm honored. Thank you.
Okay, so you are the tournament director of the 3M Open, and it's really cool watching how this event started in its infancy and what it's grown to now. I mean, I remember years ago, Patrick Royce and I doing a radio show out there, and it was a lot of fun because I'm not the world's biggest golf fan, but what I am a fan of is big event style things. And whether it was that or being out at the Ryder Cup and just really seeing how events like this not only come together, but the way that this area supports events just like this, I think it's really cool. So I'm really excited for you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, Minneapolis, the Twin Cities, Minnesota, just by and large shows up. I mean, this will have about $50 million of economic impact to the region.
Wow.
We're going to have over 300 corporate partners. We're going to have upwards of 80,000 to 100,000 fans that come through these gates. It truly is a big event. You know, I mean, it's hard to say it's the Minnesota event of the summer with something like, the State Fair right after us, but we do think that we get a little bit bigger and a little bit better each and every year.
You know what's great about this, too, is we'll actually have a championship that happens in Minnesota, right? It might not be a Minnesotan who wins, but someone will be crowned the 3M Open champion, and they'll be in Minnesota when that happens. So we'll have a championship. You almost had a couple with the Timberwolves. Tell us about your time with the T-Wolves.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, Mike, because when Hollis Kavner brought me over here, that was his calling card. He said, unlike what you've experienced, you're going to actually crown a champion on Sunday. And I had to remind him that I have 4 Minnesota Lynx rings
there you go.
At home. And so again, 11, 13, 15, and 17, I saw 2 home playoff games in my 13 years with Minnesota Timberwolves. So not as much success on the Timberwolves side. Obviously now it's a world different, super happy for them.
Sure.
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time in the NBA and WNBA. I was there from 2006 to 2019. I've always been a huge basketball fan. I played baseball in high school and college, but basketball has always been a love of mine. I'm just amazed by the sheer athleticism of those men and women that play that game. And so I loved it. We saw some really, really good guys and players come through there, not some great teams, but I think that there is nothing like sitting courtside at an NBA game. It is truly like one of the best tickets in sports. And so I enjoyed my time there. Again, not a ton of success on the Wolves side, a ton of success on the Lynx side, and it was a lot of fun.
Mike, I just want to, I read your bio real quick. Where did you go to college? Because I think maybe you went to the same spot as Reavers.
Winona State.
Winona State. Shoot. He went to Mankato. He played baseball at Mankato.
Well, and he's probably a lot better than me. That's why he probably doesn't even, the paths probably never crossed.
I just thought, well, wouldn't that have been funny if you guys went to the same school?
Oh, he would have struck me out most likely.
No. We had some great battles with Mankato State. Good program, obviously. That's a long, long time ago. I'm probably a little bit older than Chris.
When we talk about the 3M Open, sorry, Reavers, I didn't mean to interrupt you. When we talk about the 3M Open, the British Open's going on right now, the Open, right? And now these guys need to travel to Minnesota. Is it a challenge getting the top talent? Although I see that you have unbelievable players this year. Is it tough?
Yep. It is tough. I mean, it is much better for a tournament to not be before or after a major championship. Mm-hmm. That's just facts. Right. But I think one of the great things that has happened to us, and it's weird that you can say that what happened with Live Golf was actually truly a blessing. But what the tour did when Live became more at the forefront was it really just tightened up what it meant for these top players. Right. So now you have to finish in the top 30 to get to the tour championship at the end of the playoffs. You have to finish in the top 50 to get involved in the signature events the next year. And as you guys know, the signature events is where the big money is for the PGA Tour players. And then you have to get into the top 70 in order to make the FedEx Cup playoffs. Now they've also made it where the top 100 players get to keep their cards. It used to be top 125, and before that it was top 150. Ooh. So just in 3 years, they've shrunk that from top 150 to top 100. Wow. If you guys go through the current FedEx Cup standings and look who's in place number 90 through 125, there's some really good names in there. Sure. Guys like Sahith Theegala. I mean, like people that are very good golfers that if you have an injured year or a tough year like some of these guys are having, you have to play all of the events leading up to it. So yes, it is tough to get them here. We're so excited. We have 55 of the top 110 golfers in the official world golf ranking as it stands today. Wow. And as you guys know, some of those folks in the 110 are not even eligible to play our tournament because, you might be on the Live Golf Tour or over at the DP World Tour and probably not going to play our event. Sure. So our field is so deep. If you are a core golf fan or really just a golf curious fan, and you like Netflix Full Swing, you're going to see a lot of folks that you've come to know and love. So we're super excited about what the field looks like this year. Yeah,
tell us some of them. It looks like Jonathan Vegas, Tony Finau, Max Homa, Wyndham Clark, Sam Burns, big names, and people that my wife says, I saw them on the show. And isn't it strange how incredible a television show can bring fans that weren't golf fans, but they love the personalities of the people now?
I think since COVID, Mike, that, with things like Full Swing, with the rise of places like Topgolf and simulators in the fall and winter, where we never really consumed that game, but now we do 365 days out of the year. We're maniacal about it, right? And then you have these shows that have come about. It started with F1, that whole I was going to say Full Speed, but whatever, Need for Speed, whatever that is. Then it dovetailed into Netflix. Now quarterback is there and starting five is there for the NBA, and it just opens up a whole nother world. So you're right, Joel Damon, Tom Kim. I mean, these people that have become legends because of the show are now coming to the 3M Open, and we get people that don't know anything. If hole 18 is a par 3, par 4, or par 5, but they know they're going to go see Joel Damon or Tom Kim, and that just is great for us. And what it's done for us is it's made us think about our tournament a little bit different. So now we have a concert on Saturday night, and this year we're going to have Swings and Strings presented by Scotch featuring Lee Bryce. And, a few years ago, we never would have thought about that coming out of COVID. And we're going to have things like Family Day because we know families are more into golf now more than ever since COVID happened. So it's been good for us because it's made us think a little bit differently about being just more than a golf tournament. Let's make this event that just happens to have a golf tournament going on in the background.
It's so funny that you just mentioned that because that was where I was going next. Because I have two sons, 13 and 10. And I showed them, this is years ago, we were down in spring training in Arizona, and I pulled up the video of Mike Trout, Angel center fielder Mike Trout, at Topgolf hitting it over the net. And so I took my boys to that same facility in Arizona, and we did that. And then all of a sudden it turned from that into they're watching golf on the TV, and then we had to watch the tournament that weekend while we were out there. But that tiny little transition, these are two kids that love baseball, but all of a sudden they became enamored with the sport in quite literally 2 hours. It was really cool to watch.
It's happening all over. It's happening. I mean, I have 4 teenage boys, so I'm right there with you. I know exactly how that goes. My boys play baseball, basketball, and football, but when they have a free minute, they're going to golf or they're going to Topgolf. Women, it's been never more popular with women, minorities, young kids. I mean, golf is exploding, and especially here in Minnesota, it's been awesome to see.
Mike, I was looking at the purse. Someone's going to win a big check, right? $8.4 million. Is there any logic that some players are thinking about coming to play this tournament because they might have a little less competition because the Open is happening, and they have a chance to win a chunk of $8.4 million? That's an unbelievable payday.
Yeah, I mean, at 1.5 to the winner, I would take that. I'll be honest. I think there's a little bit of truth to that, Mike. I would tell you that if you speak to most of these guys, and of course, we do, I think they would say that they are more worried about the FedEx Cup points and their standing of where all that is, because the cumulative effect of finishing higher, if you're in the top 30, you're guaranteed to be in those first 2 FedEx Cup playoffs and then guaranteed in the Tour Championship. If you finish 3rd in the Tour Championship, you win $15 million. Think about that, right?
Yeah,
You don't even have to win it. So I think a lot of those guys are thinking about that. But, I would say that when you go 1 through 156, now, no, Scotty Scheffler's not going to be here. Rory McIlroy's not going to be here. But when you go down to 156, 155, 154, you guys, those guys are so darn good.
Sure.
And on any given week, they will go out and beat. Look at last week, Chris Goddard, who won the Scottish Genesis Scottish Open. We gave Chris a sponsor exemption 3 years ago, and we saw him hit the ball. And first of all, he's the best dude ever. I love that guy. I know we're not supposed to root for anybody in particular, but I root for Chris. And I knew that he was going to win some tournaments. Now he went out and beat Rory last week. And that's just my point. Chris before that was like 99th and Rory was second. Now he's 42nd and, and he just keeps moving up. And these guys can win on any given week. They're just so darn good.
I was trying to describe to my daughter that if you're the 99th best player in the world, you're beating 7 billion people at the game of golf. And if there was someone better than you, they would take that spot. Like, these are really the best of the best of the best. I was lucky enough to play in the Pro-Am a couple of years because of our affiliation with the hardware stores, and I had a chance to play with Eric Van Ruin. And if when you say you get to pick a favorite, that kid is a stud. And he went to the University of Minnesota. He's won one, so he has a chance. Maybe he's won twice. Maybe I might be forgetting. But I think he hasn't won your tournament, but he's won other tournaments. I think this might be his year because he's playing. And I'll just tell you this one little story. So his caddy, Reavers, a guy named Alex, right? Alex Gogert. In fact, I think Alex qualified to play in the 3M Open last year or the year before. Really cool story. He was actually carrying the bag 2 years ago. He was carrying the bag for Eric while playing and qualified for the tournament, right? And he was a stud. He played at the University of Minnesota too. Well, we're just all walking together because we're playing in this Pro-Am, right? And I'm about 180 yards out in a sand trap, and I take my 60-degree wedge, and I walk into the sand trap, and Alex looks at me and says, "What is wrong with you? How are you really that dumb that you think you would grab it?" And he lays into me, in the funniest possible way. And I had to say, "Alex, I'm not good at golf.
I'm a hack."
Yeah, I don't know what to do from 180 yards out. But it was so funny. He's like, "Let me just pick your clubs. From here on out, let me pick your clubs." And that was it.
That's awesome.
I'm bringing my kids this year on Wednesday, right? And I know Wednesday's not the big day, right? But if you want to stand very close to the top players in the world, come on Wednesday during the Pro-Am. Is that right?
I mean, there's 6.2 miles of front row seats at the 3M Open. That's what's really cool about the world of PGA for golf is, like, to your point, you can get right up there. And on Wednesday, Eric's going to talk to you and spend time. On Thursday through Sunday, he's not going to, right? Because he's trying to win the tournament. But on Tuesday for a practice round or Wednesday for the Pro-Am, he absolutely is. And, there's 100 stories like Eric where they're just such cordial athletes that just happen to be really, really good at the game of golf, but they're regular human beings. And so it's been so fun. And I would encourage anybody who wants to really get to know or just understand what this game is like to come on Tuesday, Wednesday. Our tickets are $25. You get to interact with them. It's a ton of fun. I would wholeheartedly agree.
I completely agree because, I don't want to keep mentioning another event, but when I was out at the Ryder Cup, I bought rounds because at the time I was living in Carver, just outside of Chaska, and I told my wife and kids, "You got to come out this day." So I bought tickets. I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, and I said because it was beautiful. There was about half the size of the crowd, but the same kind of thing that you were just mentioning, Mike. I was from me to Fratelloni away from Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
That's how close you got. Now, granted, he wasn't playing because he was injured at the time, but still, that's pretty cool.
You were still able to throw a pair of underwear to him. Like,
I didn't do that. But it's the 3M Open. It's July 21st through 27th. You can get your tickets online right now at 3mopen.com. And Mike is with us for a couple more minutes. So, Mike, I did want to ask about organizing an event of this nature. And again, I know you guys have been slowly building this thing to where it is now over these last handful of years. When do you start to get nervous? Do you start to get nervous usually about a week out? Maybe it's a month out, or maybe you feel confident in how things are situated. Just as a guy that's organized smaller events, I kind of know what that process is like, but I'm always curious when the anxiety really, really starts to take shape.
You might not like this answer, but it's sort of a year-round thing.
Sure.
As somebody who is responsible for sort of, the success of the tournament, and most folks don't know this, we're a nonprofit. The 3M Open Fund acts as a nonprofit. So all the revenues through corporate partnerships and ticket sales flow into the 3M Open Fund. You pay off the operating expenses of the tournament, and then hopefully there's $1 million left over that we get the 25 charities. And every PGA Tour tournament on the PGA Tour schedule is like that. And that is so unique. Since the tour's inception, they've given over $4.6 billion to communities, and that is more than the 4 professional sports leagues combined. And that is just something that I think we do a good job talking about, but I think holistically it is not. So as our staff of 11 is laser focused on getting as much revenue as possible during the year, because what that does is, number one, it allows you to put on a better tournament, and number two, it gives you more ability to give more money to charity. You guys have seen this from a business perspective. 2 years ago it was interest rates, and this year it's tariffs, and so we're constantly challenged around getting as many partners as possible. What is great for us is that we increase our corporate partner base year over year from numbers, and we increase revenue. It's just that costs, as you know, are rising astronomically. Yeah. If I told you how much it costs just to put the structures out here, the tents, and Mike has been out here, and Chris, I know you have as well. It's crazy how much that costs. And so it starts when we start selling in September, October, November. But yeah, I would say June 1 is when the anxiety levels start to go through the roof when the build starts, and you're like, oh, this is real. And then advance week this week, it just is on another level. And then next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are really our big days, because it's a lot of our sponsor days, pro-am days. But once the tournament starts on Thursday, the PGA Tour kind of takes over, the competition starts. We don't relax, but then if anything goes wrong, we let them take care of it. And we know that we just go out and see our partners and say hi and thank them and thank our fans. But yeah, it's more year round. And again, it's hard to do an outside event that's really dependent on weather. And, we're Minnesotans, we're fickle by nature. Anything colder than 71 is too cold. Anything hotter than 79 is too hot. And so can we get in that sweet spot one year where everybody's going to love the temperature?
Well, and that's, I guess, so let me ask you a very broad question, just looking for somewhat of a generic answer. But in your opinion, then, what would you deem this as a success? Is it based upon ticket sales? Is it based upon the great golf, a combination of all the above? Or what, in your opinion, would make it a success for the 3M Open?
Yeah, I think there's three answers to that. I think one is, how does 3M, our title partner, feel about the event? Because without 3M as our title sponsor, this event doesn't happen. And title sponsors are so vital to just how the PGA Tour is run, right? So we are very, very cognizant of what 3M wants each and every year. And so if we check the box there and they feel like it's really great, that's a win for us. Two is really around just, how the tournament is doing financially, and are we able to support the charities to the level that we want? And fortunately for us, in the first 6 years, that has happened. And so that's been great for us. And then lastly, I would just say, what does the market and what does this area think of our tournament? As you guys know, this is such a competitive marketplace, not only from a sports perspective, but an arts and entertainment perspective. And then, oh, by the way, there's 12 sacred weekends out of the year in Minnesota when everybody wants to go to their cabin or vacation. We happen to fall on one of those 12, and that makes it equally as tough. So if we can continually year over year look around the market, talk to key stakeholders and say, hey, what you're doing each and every year feels a little bit better, feels a little bit bigger, well, then that checks the box for us. And if we, get a box checked in all three of those categories, we feel like that this is something that is worthy of doing each and every year.
Let me ask you, because you did mention Live, and I would be remiss if I did not ask this, because I work with a couple of crusty old guys, and Joe Soucheray and Patrick Royce, who absolutely hated everything about the idea of the Live tournament. And not to put you on the spot or put you in a bad spot here, but I am curious to just get, has the kind of the what would you call it, the polarizing aspect of some of those players that joined Live, because there's been some time that's now passed, has some of that softened a little bit, where there's a little bit more cohesion with the guys that stuck with the PGA and the guys that decided to take the check and go to Live? Or is there still somewhat of an angst between those two groups?
I honestly don't think there's really angst at all.
Okay.
And I think that the reason why that is because I'm not sure if and when this is going to join forces. Again, I have respect for anybody who starts to do business, and I know that they did business a little bit differently. But if you look at the TV ratings of what the PGA Tour is doing this year, comparatively to what they're doing, the Live is doing on Fox, like I feel bad for them.
Sure.
I've never been to one of their events. I don't plan on going to one of their events. I don't know what their attendance is like. All I know is that the strength of the PGA Tour has never been greater. And when you talk about those players that come in at 140 through 156 in our field, and they have a chance to win in any given week, that's pretty darn incredible. Now, do we miss personalities like Phil Mickelson and Bryson DeChambeau? Yeah, no doubt. I think to have them here would be great for sort of what we went back to, that non-core golf fan. But I think as the years go on, if I answered this question in 2022 versus now, I would feel a little bit differently, right? I think now, 3 years later, we don't feel a hit like maybe we did. That first year, we lost 14 players from our field to Live, and that hurt. And now, because the pipeline is so robust coming up from PGA Tour University and the Korn Ferry Tour. I mean, Scottie Scheffler was the Korn Ferry Tour Player of the Year in 2019, guys. Think about that.
Wow.
6 years ago.
Yeah.
And now he's the #1 player in the world. And so, these young men get good quick and they win quick.
Yeah. Again, go to 3mopen.com for all of your ticket information. It's the 3M Open taking place July 21st to the 27th. Hard to believe it's just less than a week away, Mike, but I know you're a super busy guy. I can't thank you enough for making time for us here on the Weekly Scramble podcast. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me. Thank you for the interest, and it's good to see you both.
You bet. Best of luck with the event next week, man.
Thank you.
You bet. Man, that's so cool. That's just so cool. I love when... Because again, I like on the nerdy side of things where planning an event like this, because I can't even imagine how much work goes into something like this.
He's got an easy job. And let me tell you why. He's got an easy job. Let me tell you why. Okay. He's with Hollis Kavner. Hollis.
Hollis is great.
Hollis is a total pro, right? So he works with Hollis. Then he works with a little-known company called 3M. And, one of the big things that he has to do is tie other corporations into this golf tournament.
Sure.
They get to tie to 3M. It's an icon in
cool.
Minnesota.
That's so cool.
It's an icon in research and development and innovation, right? They do all this stuff. So every time he has to go out and sell, he can say, hey, Stilly, we know you make some booze. We'd love you at the tournament. Oh, by the way, you get to be tied into 3M. It's a no-brainer. That's why Fratelloni's loves it. Reavers, that was a great thing. I'm so glad we had him on.
Thank you very much once again to Mike Welch, and get your tickets at 3mopen.com. Let's talk about our friends at We Are Nuts and wearenutsmn.com. Right now is a great time if you have been thinking about it to make that purchase online at wearenutsmn.com, because through the end of the month of July, you are going to get $10 off the original Nut House 4-pack. That includes the Maple Bourbon Toffee Almonds, the original Toffee Peanuts, the Cinnamon Toasted Toffee Peanuts, and the Hot Nuts Toffee Peanuts. All are available with the promo code GL Nut House for a limited time. Again, it's only going through the end of the month of July. And, I got to tell you, by the way, you can also find them at Kowalski's, Lunds & Byerly's, and all of the Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores locations. And, Michael, you can expect a visit from Liz Collin, who was filling in for Joe Souchere today.
Sure.
I'm not sure exactly which hardware store I said, because, she's married to Bob Kroll.
Yeah.
And I said, well, get Bob go to Fratelloni's.
Yeah.
So expect her to be stopping in and name dropping you, by the way.
And I'm not going to say where she lives, but she lives in a town that one of the Minnesota legislators wanted to burn down. Right?
Correct.
Remember the guy stood out.
Suburb,
northern suburb. He stood out in her driveway saying, "We're going to burn this thing down."
So I'm not sure where she's stopping in, but you can expect a visit from her at some point over the next couple of days. But again, wearenutsmn.com, the Weekly Scramble. We will be right back. Here we go. I received this email, Mike, from a listener, David, a couple of weeks ago, and I never did get a chance to get around to it, but it's really, really good. And he likes you and me. Oh, so you go to the top of the line. You go right to the front of the line here. But his subject line just says the 80%. And by the way, David is Frat Pack member number 728.
Nice. He was early.
So he got in on it early. I know David's a big listener of the show, so I wanted to get to this. He says, I listened to the Weekly Scramble podcast, Reeves, from 6:10 this morning. In it, you discuss the 80% in the middle, which is a common subject which has come up also on GL repeatedly, that 10% on each side are the tails wagging the dog that is each party. Let's assume that's true. and that the 80% in the middle can't get traction. You said the reason for this is because people are too busy living their lives that are in the 80%, and that's why they are put upon. I hate to say it, but that's not the reason. That's a convenient fiction that people tell themselves in order to more effectively vilify the political class. The real reason is much less attractive, much simpler, and much more difficult to overcome. The 80% simply don't agree on anything. That's the reason. Let's say there was a new party formed to try to cater to them. What would that platform be? Nobody would agree on abortion. Nobody would agree on taxes, foreign policy, government assistance, education, EVs, environmental regulation, etc. What if we used another central park and unified people around that? Since it's Musk leading the charge, we'd be looking at taxes and wasteful spending. We tried that. It was called the Tea Party. It failed to make significant headway, and its frustrated members became the core of MAGA. Those people aren't going to coalesce around a new party.
Sure.
Let's just use this GL staff as a basis. This is great.
Good point.
The group of you five, 6 with Mike, disagree about a lot of subjects. You would probably come to solutions on most things given enough time. What if we included your wives and there were 12 of you? Or 24, 240, 2 million. Get my point?
Sure.
There would never be any merging of opinion enough to unify this group before people went to other parties. That's why we can't have a nationwide party for the 80%. It would not unify, and it would not be able to attract voters. It might be able to do something if it organized locally and targeted House and Senate races in Democrat-heavy places where the GOP is weak, and it then targeted disaffected Democrat voters. He says, love the two-party system or not, but it also offers an important feature. That's a great point.
He made some really great points. What he's missing, though, is this, Reavers.
Talk to me.
The 80% kind of don't care, right? So you could start a party that says, hey, we're in the middle. You're not going to agree with us on everything. We're not even going to tell you our opinion on some things, right? We're just going to be common sense. And there's a whole bunch of people on both that 10% left and 10% right that really don't know any of the issues. And if the 80%, people who are just going to let the world be, right? You don't have to change everything. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to talk about everything. Maybe those people could say, hey, I'm all in on someone else making a decision that's kind of common sensey.
Sure.
Right? And I can cross, maybe I won't love it. Is it a wild fantasy to have something like that? Absolutely. Right?
Sure.
I think he's absolutely right. But if we just don't tell people what we're for, then we got a chance of getting them.
And I guess the part that's so frustrating to me anyway is just that, we had it today. So I'm sure you saw the latest fraud story that circulated here in the state of Minnesota.
Unbelievable.
Where it's these sick, I'm going to say it, these sick bastards are preying upon the most vulnerable roaming amongst us. These are people that battled drug addiction, that needed stable housing, and they were being invoiced for services that were never provided.
But Donald Trump's going to cut Medicare. He's going to cut Medicaid. That it was a Medicaid fraud, basically, right?
Right.
And everyone's freaking out that Trump's going to cut Medicaid. It's $100 million scam. They think this is.
Yep.
If you run something that's loosey-goosey enough to lose $100 million in a scam, shut it down. Right? Shut it down. And we have to change Medicaid.
If you haven't seen it, you need to read Liz Collins' story at Alpha News, alphanewsmn.org, because it's so maddening, because as you have people in the places here in the great state of Minnesota that could effectively do something about this continues to happen. And it continues to be one group of individuals that are doing it. And it's the Somali community.
I'm not going with you on that. It doesn't matter.
No.
But somebody found that they could scam.
Mike,
it's in Minnesota. Go ahead.
But this case specifically, they named the individuals.
Get it? Are you sure they're Somali?
Yes.
I can't fall under that.
Then fine. I'll speak for myself. But what I'm tired of is one demographic of our society basically preying upon all of these different loopholes, and it's working my very last nerve. Because again, I'm open for whoever wants to live here and contribute. Go right ahead. Yeah. But I'm sick and tired of this continuing to happen, and it seems to be 90% of the time it's one set of a group here that's doing it.
Okay. I'm going to let you take that. You ride that horse. I'm totally fine with you riding that horse. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go, this is happening in Minnesota. who the hell is watching the cash drawer?
That's the problem.
Who is writing these checks? Who is saying you fed 5,000 kids out of a building that's 10 foot by 10 foot in Sheboygan, Minnesota? I know Sheboygan's in Wisconsin, but
Pelican
you know what
Rapids.
I mean. Pelican Rapids.
Right.
Like who is the auditor who's supposed to be auditing this stuff, and why is it happening under the watch of our governor? And I don't even blame our governor, because he can't be in control of every single thing. Right? He can't be in control of everything. What I'd love to have our governor do is say, that's it. We're not doing this shit anymore. If you get caught, you're going to jail forever. We're not playing this. We're not doing this in this state. And have some meat and some bite into his words to say, we're not doing this here. We're going to audit everything. If you're getting a check from the state of Minnesota, we're auditing why you're getting that check. Period. And really clamp down on it. That's what the governor can do. You're going to have people scam us, Reavers. I don't care what culture they're from. It's going to happen, right? And it is a sad correlation that oftentimes it seems like a certain community really knows how to go after this, right? And which is a damn shame. And no one wants to be part of that. There's a million people in that culture that are not problematic, right? And maybe we're just finding some bad seeds, or the gate is so far open they're just walking through the gate and saying, "Well, this was easy."
It just seems kind of coincidental that they have access to all this information at the ready, and I'll just kind of leave it at that.
That's conspiracy thinking. Although I love the tin hat conspiracies.
So what you're asking for is a powerful man or woman, but you're asking for a powerful leader of people that will stand in front of the face of corruption and do something about it, like in the state of California and Gavin Newsom.
With Gavin Newsom. Did you see that video of him?
I honest to God could not believe what I was watching.
So I don't know if you have the video.
Fraud, by the way.
Okay, so he's on a podcast, right?
I have it ready if you want me to play
a real
it.
known podcast. And it doesn't tell it. It's not very clear on the podcast. The podcaster asks him, does he think it's acceptable for 8-year-olds to transition? And this is Gavin Newsom's answer.
What about for your values? I mean, is 8 years old too young?
Yeah, I mean, look, I now that I have a 9-year-old, just became 9. Come on, man, I get it. So those are legit. You know, it's interesting. Just the issue of age. I haven't. It's interesting. As someone that's been so focused on equality broadly, LGBT rights, particularly gay marriage. The trans issue for me is also novel. It's over the last few years.
What you're hearing, ladies and gentlemen, I know you can't see it because he's talking with his hands and he's looking around, and you could tell he's pulling S out of his rear end. But that's a gentleman walking in circles, is all that is.
That's not possible. And let me tell you why it's not possible. He's not a dope. Number one, he's not a dope.
No.
He's
a
been
liar,
in
but
politics.
he's not a dope.
Yeah, he's a hypocrite. He's going to the French Laundry for dinner when everyone else has to stay at home, right? He's a total hypocrite. But I don't think he's stupid. You're in politics. At some point in time, someone's going to ask you about the transitioning of young children, and that your best answer is, yeah, with a dad of a 9-year-old, I get it. It's a bit. He could not express himself. That's the most basic question you're going to be asked.
Because it would require him to take a position. And this is a guy who has aspirations, sadly and horrifically, to run for president one day. We all know that he's going to end up at some point running for president, which, God help us one and all, if the governor of California becomes the president of this country and California's this country, we're doomed.
Yeah. Do you think he'd be AOC's vice president? Do you think he'd accept that?
You won't give that up, will you?
AOC's going to run for president, and I don't know if she'd lose. Honest to God, I don't know if she would lose.
I can't see a scenario where she would win.
She's the vision of the Democrat Party right now.
But if this wasn't a wake-up call as to what happened Trump slaughtered those people.
Not really.
Okay, I don't want to get
slaughtered a dead guy and a woman who couldn't express herself.
Okay,
right?
Probably. You're right. But I guess my point is, this is acceptable to people. Guy's been elected how many times in California? And again, we can go back to integrity and vote. We can get into all of that because I have questions about a lot of that as well. But it doesn't matter. We have so many. We were talking about apathy with David's email. We were talking about apathy, and unfortunately, that's happening. And it's because people are blindly checking a box without even really thinking about what they're voting for. We've seen it in both downtowns.
Sure.
We've seen it on both city councils. We've seen it in the state. I mean, honest to God, I don't think it's even going to matter if, Scott Jensen just announced that he's going to run for governor.
Oh, great.
God help you, Scott.
Yeah.
You already lost to this guy. What makes you think you're going to beat him this time? And again, Walz has never been more beatable than he is right now.
Sure.
He has no evidence to suggest that this state is going in the right direction. And my point is, he still will probably get elected.
Do you think Walz is more beatable now?
Yes.
I think people in Minnesota think that Walz stood up to the great Satan, and they love him for it. I think he's more popular than he's ever been in the state of Minnesota. He's going to kill Scott Jensen. And Scott, I'm going to say this one more time. If you wear a button-up shirt, if you wear a quarter zip under a button-up shirt, you shouldn't be allowed to be governor.
Right.
You can't make stupid mistakes where guys like me say, I can't deal with the guy who wears a quarter zip shirt as an undershirt under a button-up Oxford. Why does that piss me off so much?
I don't know.
It's the most basic shit. Can't they have someone on his side saying, Scott, I'm sorry, wear a dress shirt, a tie, and a Navy sport coat every day?
That looks awful.
What you get to wear is a Navy sport coat and a white Oxford or a blue Oxford and a blue tie. That's it. That's all you get to wear, or a red tie. That's it. That's all you get to do.
You know what could bring this country together?
What's that?
Maple syrup.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah. We're getting it soon. We're getting it soon, Reavers.
Are you really?
Honest to God, I asked Ben to put together this beautiful counter display so we could display it because it's syrup. It's kind of hard to display, right? He came out with the most beautiful displayer. So we are going to get it in here in just a little bit. So not only will you be able to order it online, I'm ruining your commercial.
No,
you're going to be able to pick it up at Fratelloni's because I think he's selling a ton of this.
Good.
Good. I know he's going to sell a ton of Fratelloni's because we always do well with things we advertise.
Well, and here's what's cool, too. I mean, obviously, you're going to get the best pure maple syrup made right here in the great state of Minnesota, but you also get the pure maple sugar, which is really good for you bakers in the world. But right now, it's summer. What do we do in summer? We grill.
Yes.
The seasonings are incredible. I got to tell you, I asked for Rookie's help because I got a gift for coaching.
Okay.
I got a pork shoulder.
Oh, nice.
And so I said, I didn't have time to like really do the long form smoking because I'm running from this to that right now until baseball season's over with. I crock potted this son of a gun.
Nice.
And I used the Masters Maple Savory. It was so good.
Sure.
And there's the savory and the sweet. They're both great. I just personally like the savory a little bit more than the sweet because the burgers are phenomenal. It works on everything, chicken, whatever. I've used it on salmon.
Sure.
It's so good. So you go to mastersmaples.com and you can see their entire line of products.
Just watered a little bit there, didn't it?
Oh, because it's gone. I still have the seasoning left, but the pork shoulder's gone. I ate the entire thing in like 3 days.
Well, good. That's good for you.
I should not really, I mean, whatever.
You going through something at home? What's going on?
But it's so good. So anyway, go. You can see their entire lines. Like I said, the seasonings and the rubs are just one of the great things that Masters Maples and mastersmaples.com has to offer, and that's so cool that they're coming to Fratelloni's hardware and garden store locations. But check them out online. I'm dying here.
Reavers, I don't know if you saw this incredible video from the Coldplay concert
where they
scan. Okay, so here you set it up, right?
Yeah.
You go to a Coldplay concert. You're maybe
it was in Boston, right?
I think so. You're with a gal that's maybe not your gal. She's not your wife, right? And you're getting a little lovey-dovey with her, and you're holding on to her. And then all of a sudden, the camera pans to you, and Coldplay, the band members of Coldplay, say. As they see this guy, the guy dives to the ground. The girl covers her face.
Well, she turns her back to the camera.
Turns her back. He literally dives to the ground. And the members of Coldplay say, it looks like we just caught somebody having an affair. I mean, they throw them under the bus instantaneously. And guess what? They caught a guy named Andy Byron, the CEO of Astronomer. It's a company called Astronomer, the CEO and the HR person in his company having an affair. It's gotten millions and millions and millions of views. There's a way that you can prevent this, right?
Right.
Do you know what that way is, Reavers?
It's got to be some type of really deep, creative, something to prevent, like technology. What is it?
That or don't have affairs. Right. If you don't, and by the way, if you're the president of a company, the CEO of a company, don't ever have an affair with an HR person. Because the HR person can just say, you know what? I think that was sexual harassment. and just take all of your life away from you.
Yeah.
All of your life away from you. Not to mention you're going to get divorced, all that jazz.
I remember this happening locally, and I don't want to cite what media outlet that this particular person worked for. I would guess this has got to be at least 10 years ago, if not more. And I believe it happened at a Twins game, when they do the kiss cam.
Sure.
And I think, again, I'm not gonna mention what entity it was, but it was someone that was visible to the public and on a smaller level. And this is still the infancy stages of social media. But this very thing happened to this particular person at a Twins game. And I remember it was kind of an inside joke, at least, around the inner circles of people that know other media personalities and whatnot. And I remember that happening it was either a Twins or a Wild game. It was one of those two, and I can't remember, but that same thing happened. It was pretty.
Don't bring your side chick to a game where there's a camera system there.
Oh, speaking of going to the Twins game, I got an email from somebody that said that Reavers is 50% right about the Livy Dunn effect on the Twins game.
Okay, yeah.
Because apparently because they didn't know that Paul Skeens was going to pitch on Friday. Because he originally was scheduled to pitch on Saturday.
Okay.
They moved him up to Friday because he was going to pitch in the All-Star game, which took place on Tuesday night.
Sure.
So that made a ton of sense because obviously his girlfriend wouldn't be going to the game if he wasn't pitching.
Going to pitch,
right?
yeah.
So there was an emailer because his daughter went to the game specifically because of Livy Dunn, but they were waiting to see. And so again, I think
no girl cares who's pitching at a Twins game.
No, they care if Livy Dunn's going to be
They care
at the
if Livy
game.
Dunn's going to be
so
there.
Anyway,
So that's interesting. But did I ever tell you about the time that I slept with a set of twins?
Speaking of twins, I don't remember you ever telling me about that.
Didn't you? I thought you asked me how I told them apart. Isn't that?
Oh, I think you're right. I think I did ask that.
Yeah. So it was really interesting because Jennifer, one of the twins, had the most beautiful hands, and she would paint her nails in this soft pink, and she always used the same color. I'm like, okay, Jennifer has the soft pink nail polish.
Sure.
And then Jim, he had a penis. See, you thought I was slept with a set of twin women, but I'm telling great jokes.
Do you know what that reminds me of?
I don't. Good jokes.
Did you 100%?
Okay.
Do you remember you watched The Office, the TV show The Office? Remember the time when Michael got really drunk and the two girls from the restaurant came home and he couldn't tell them apart?
Oh.
And he wrote on one of their arms.
Yes.
So you would remember their name.
Oh, Reavers, that
dumb.
joke was the best, and you are the equivalent of that joke. You are the best.
Thank you, Michael. I'm the equivalent of that joke.
Yes.
Thank you. Please do us a favor, rate and review the show wherever you happen to be listening to the Weekly Scramble podcast, and it really helps our show out a lot, and we do really appreciate it. His name is Mike Fratelloni. My name is Chris Reavers. Thank you so very much for listening to the Weekly Scramble podcast. Until next time, cheers.